It's 28 minutes after midnight on a Thursday morning, which means Tovia is the first person I see today on a
Hey.
Thursday. This is the Connection Podcast, the, the Evolution of Humanity series. And I am me, the sleeping MVP of comedy. And with me, with us, is Tovia. Now, one could say that Tovia has a house of sushi, a little house of sushi, a house made of sushi, and others, arigato, and others could say that she's on a first name basis with Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe we'll find out.
Dumbass!
So,
Yes.
just to make sure that people listening right now don't think I'm a dick, I'm gonna ask you on record, how are you?
I'm doing very, very good. Very good. With the exception of what's going on with our world, I am actually in a good place, which is, I think, the point of everything. You gotta find your happiness.
Perfect. Yeah, find your happiness. The difference between you and I is my happiness is at the bottom of the tequila bottle.
Oh.
Uh, okay. And I promise I will not bring up politics after I just brought up politics. I promise I won't do that. It's just about zombies.
But I'll hold you to that.
Oh, okay. Good. So, the Evolution of Humanity series focuses on people growing, whether it's professionally or personally. Let's see, with Tovia, let's see how life began in comedy, or to put it more broadly, in the entertainment industry. How did that begin?
Well, I think I would say maybe around like 2013. But the way it started is about 20 years ago, I was on my way to Atlanta and I had met a comedian on the bus. And I decided to tell this comedian that I was funnier. Even though he was traveling doing shows, I assumed that I just knew I had the nerves to tell this man that I am funnier than you without ever hearing his joke. And I remember that we started going back and forth, and I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And the bus driver was like, neither one of y'all are funny. And he almost put us off. Well, about I would say about 17 to 20 years later, this same comedian called me to be on one of his skit comedies about 7 years ago. And that was my first comedy job. Then he got me my second comedy job in a movie and a stage play. So that was evolution at its best, because he constantly tell me I'm not famous. I'm nobody. So it goes a full circle with us.
Perfect. And has there ever been a better opening to an Evolution of Humanity podcast with that story? No, probably not. So, as you say, it went full circle. So, going back 20, 17 years, what is the connection that you found with comedy? Was it just like, as you say, you saw this comedian and you thought you're funnier than he is?
Well, it comes to that I am African American, but both of my parents were in the military and both of my grandfathers.
Okay.
And like my dad, I spent year 13 and before in not only Europe and also Asia.
Okay.
So a lot of times, you don't go out much overseas, you know?
No, I don't. I would.
Yes. And when I was in Germany, when I was in Korea, I was 20 minutes from the North Korean border. So we just couldn't just go outside freely. We didn't have Saturday morning cartoons. And you really are relating with so many different individuals and countries being on military bases. You kind of have to find your individuality.
Okay.
And then with Germany the same way. So I started falling in love with old movies. And it was the Marx Brothers, the Three Stooges. I would stay up till like 4 o'clock in the morning. My mom's cussing me out because I'm like, one more time I need to see, Curly Poke Mo or vice versa. Then my mom is a big fan of Lucille Ball, of Carol Burnett, and she has a lot of that in her. She has that strong woman, beautiful, but really goofy. So you would take this large personality versus me watching these guys, and then you get into Eddie Murphy, and I would sneak and watch his little dirty stand-ups. Richard Pryor, I was crazy about his movies as a kid. So when you got some of these greats, and Laurel and Hardy, priceless, one big, one small. So with all this just in my brain going over and over again, it just kind of developed who I was. And when I got to the United States, I was a little different from everyone else. So I would start emulating the scenes in these movies. I would start taking their jokes and making it my own. And I would say that's where it kind of came about.
Okay, excellent. I love that you experienced different cultures quite early on. And now I would say that gives you an upper hand in terms of meeting different cultures that many other comedians, I don't know, I don't like to differentiate from male to female. Both are just comedians. I don't like labels on people. So I would say that you are at a bit of an advantage when it comes to, well, when it comes to humor in different parts of the world, different cultures, and that's a credit to you for bringing it through for like 20 years.
I agree. And shout out to Joey Coy. That is actually my favorite comedian, and he's Asian. So, and I love the guy who wrote Kung Fu Hustle. I think his last name is Chow. Genius. Genius. I've seen that movie and reenact that dance scene probably like 1,000 times, telling him myself.
And to everybody on YouTube right now, I'm not looking down at Google to check who wrote Kung Fu Hustle. I'm not doing that at all. No, that's not what I'm doing.
Yes, you are.
That really is not what I'm doing, and I'm not having any problems with anything else. So your connection with the entertainment industry started and kept going through various countries. In the path that you've taken over the last 2 decades, were you surprised by anything professionally?
What am I surprised by?
Yeah, like were you surprised by anything or like taken aback? Like for example, 7 years ago when that same comedian came back to you 13 years after you told him that you think you are funny than he is. Did that surprise you at all, or is it just, just another day in the life?
Well, no, I'm a big fan of astrology, and I believe in synchronicity. So I'm the type that if I was to go back in time and step on a pedal, I changed the world. So with that, I just looked at it as a lot of that happens in my life. So it's more of, oh, wow, look at this world that no one sees what's happening musically on the different dimensions. I told you I was strange. So I just looked that him and I systematically were linked somehow, and maybe we made this agreement in another life. And when I first met him, it wasn't my time. So I just believe cosmically we're part of the same musical song. So no, I wasn't. Yeah. Okay. And even with you, we're all connected musically. That's the only word I can use to describe the personification of how we're all connected. But it's like musical notes, so it goes together. So I'm not shocked.
Oh, this is the connection podcast. You just need to use connected, and it explains everything. I'm fine with that, even if it's not the right word. We're all connected in some way.
Yes.
So I'm extremely happy with the way this is going. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm just upset you have better hair than I do, but that's for another podcast. And in terms of podcasts, you are co-host on Essential News.
Yes, hold on. I gotta plug up my phone. I apologize. Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
I thought I had it plugged up, but one thing about being part of comedy, you're kind of goofy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No matter how cute you dress up the pig, it might be a pig. So that's what we all have in common. We all got that nerdy. Oh, Lord.
Something.
Well, yes, I do a podcast with two other hosts, Chico Will and Nicole Veda. And we do the news. We tell world news. We tell trending news. We tell stock market news. I mean, just all of it in the whole. We tell scientific news, because the misconception and stereotype of urban people is that we don't know the news. And that's another thing, going back to how I grew up. There's a lot of newspapers I read and a lot of news I watched. And I watched the stock market because you want to know how much your dollar is worth the German Deutschmark. Even with Korea. Oh yeah. As a kid, you at 5 years old, you're like, what does it say? How much is our money worth? Which is Forex trading now, which is very popular. So I basically, with Nicole Veda, and she's a Black woman who has not watched Black movies, did not grow up around a lot of Black people. So you're taking this international Black girl with a Black girl who did not grow around what you would say the urban Black person, and then this guy from inner city DC, and we're telling the news, and it's just it's like alphabet soup, but it works with the milk.
Well, and somehow you've gotten a way to keep those three minds together for as long as you have. There are different views, and it's still going. I'm going to throw back the curtain a bit. In comedy, there are so many different views, and there are so many dumbasses too. Because people tend not to accept the views of others. It's okay if you don't agree with the views. But the least you could do is accept it. So that's the complication that I face sometimes. So it's a credit to the three of you for keeping the podcast going.
Thank you. And it's so hard not to have opinions, because we pride ourselves not being like, well, I'm not going to shout that news out, but everybody know the news, they be lying. But we really go over the topics and separate how we feel personally. Because when you listen to the news, who cares what the person telling it is? That person might be as psyched out as the person they're newsing about. I just made up a new word, newsing about. So,
hashtag
newsing about.
And then you guys will find this podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Just use hashtag
Yes.
newsing. NEWSING.
Yes. So our approach to it is just basically coming from an honest place, but just keeping the facts. And then when we do give opinions, we make sure it came from a news source, or we make sure that it's an opinion of masses, like it's a common opinion.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's balanced.
Thank you.
More than I can say about news media for most countries. So you mentioned you have an interest in astrology.
Yes.
Would you like to teach me, an uncultured folk, about astrology 101? Let's make it
Well,
basic. Because as far as astrology goes, the only thing that's relevant to me in astrology is, I don't know if it's the same thing, but zodiac, my star
yes.
sign. So I'm a goat, or Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Yeah, there we go. And
December or January matters.
January.
Oh.
And now, Tovia is the second person I've revealed my star sign to that is not really that happy about it. I wonder why. Because I am the goat. I am the goat.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know why people are not happy about me being the goat. But anyway, it's not about me. It's about the sushi house builder. Sushi house builder. Okay, so astrology. Educated and educated. That's me.
Well, the first thing I would tell you is don't believe anything you read. Like, don't get caught up in the hype. Most of it that comes out to people, probably 95% that hits your eyes, is misguided and not true.
That 5% comes from the Essential Muse podcast. Listen to them.
No, they won't let me talk about it. I wish. They cut me out on a lot of topics. But
okay.
The second part I would say is that astrology is the sister to astronomy. So when you talk about the ancients being outside, they corresponded these constellations to the seasons and what was going on. And the movement of them, when you think about the three wise men and the Bible, that's supposedly a lot of people say is the constellation that was up in the sky.
Okay.
Yes. So when you want to understand it, you have to look at it mathematically and scientifically. If you start looking at it as, you're going to predict the future and everything like that, you're definitely going out the wrong door. And then third, I would say it's all psychological too, that it's basically trying to get to the root of the human nature, why we do things and why we connect to the planet and the solar system. So a ripple, back to the ripple thing, a ripple happens, let's say in Neptune, that will sync up with the planet Earth and it'll be on this side. I know you've seen the past couple of years, it was like, Neptune is visible in the sky and Mars is close as never been, because we're moving around with it in the zodiac. So the position of each one corresponds from the time you were born, let's say a portal. So how the sky looked from the time you were born is you. So a person could be your same sign, born exactly 12 hours later, and they're totally different because of the movement in the sky. And then each one comes down to a physical degrees, and then you add it up with the house, because every zodiac has a 2.5 year lifetime in the chart. So we go by 12 months, then you'll do the 2.5 years, then it even goes up to the 2,400 year cycle. that the Mayans talk about with 2012 that we just went through. So it all adds up, and the unique thing about it is that every culture did astrology from BC and back, and all of it equals out together, but just so happenly they weren't communicating with each other. So you can go to ancient China, you can go to even ancient Australia, because they found some of the ancient Australians were doing it. I mean, go to North America, South America, definitely with the Mayans and Aztecs. I mean, Europe with the Druids and the Stonehenge, Africa with the Egyptian pyramids. So even they found things in Norway, Russia. It's just that everywhere you go, I mean, what Iraq and Israel have the most. Oh my God! I mean, if I could be, Armenia has a lot. Yugoslavia, all these places have ancient calendars that mark up to this time, and then so what astrologers do is they try to find the common denominator.
Okay.
So if you notice that a Capricorn is merging through the house of Sagittarius, and every time this happens, a lot of people get rich, and people 5,000 years ago said this, and it keeps happening, then it's pretty much an exact science in astrology. But that's pretty much what I would say astrology was.
Okay, so astrology is the one constant in different cultures, different ways of a life, different people, different countries, different continents. And the one thing that stays the same is astrology. Unlike me, because I was dumber 10 minutes ago about astrology, and now I'm wiser. See, I'm evolving. The name of the podcast isn't a lie. So, in terms of comedy, how would you say is the best way for you to prepare for anything? Performance, does it differ from each performance, like the type of performance, whether it's a musical or on stage, like stand-up comedy? Is there any difference, or is there only one process that fits all?
Well, one thing I learned with stand-up, which I do very, very few, is the stage fright in that. And there's different variations to comedy. So what I use is the skit, the podcast, and different comical things to get me more comfortable with that. I wish I did that more, and I plan on doing it. But I would say being actually funny directly and taped that way versus stand-up is still easier for me. Now I go up there and I'll do that, but as far as like 3 or 5 minutes, I'll make you laugh. I got you. But evolving to that person that does 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and I just seen Dave Chappelle, Chris Tucker, Eddie Griffin. I just seen these great people do an hour and 30 minutes. To me, that's comedy. Whether you're good or bad, you're up there, hour and 30 minutes, that's comedy. I haven't hit that yet. Now, getting 1 million views on me being slapstick funny, I'm winning. But as far as that, I need to evolve a long way. I'm about a 2, and I just seen people who were off the charts.
Okay, that's the recipe. Well, you're still on the path of learning, as you mentioned. You're still learning. It's an ever-growing process, ever-learning process. Even myself. But that's not about me. This podcast
tell me.
Right?
We can relate. No, tell me. I know it's an interview, but say it.
Well, I have to be honest that it took a while for me to find my identity in comedy. And when I say a while, it probably took me a decade. So if I do, or when I do return to the stage during this zombie apocalypse, I'll have a more clear vision of who I am. And coincidentally, it's 2020, so I have that 2020 vision.
I heard that. But would you say the podcast kind of helps you relate more? Like the podcast is helping me with the confidence and maybe saying the wrong thing, or I might not get a laugh, but keep rolling.
Yeah, definitely. In many ways, yes. First and foremost, this coronavirus, the plague, the pandemic, it's a bad thing. Uh, we shouldn't, or I didn't let that blind me from like the silver linings in it. Because over these last 7 months, I have to admit, without this pandemic, we wouldn't be doing this right now.
I'm the biggest procrastinator in the world. Oh my gosh, I wear the hat proudly. And this made me flip it. It's like I'm always going to be against the norm. So the biggest procrastinator in the world became almost the biggest workaholic. I don't get it. I just want to be weird.
Yeah. It's been a weird year. It's been a weird year. And I'm happy for one. For one, I'm happy that I'm actually doing this with you right now.
Thank you.
That I'm doing the podcast at near enough 1 a.m. Usually I just procrastinate, as your past self would do. I just procrastinate and do something, watch YouTube. And now I'm creating podcasts for YouTube. So there's a flipped over for me as well. So, but you're doing better. You're getting along with people. I only have 2 people on the podcast because.
Oh my gosh, oh my goodness. If I could tell, let me tell you what comes after this podcast. A whole script of what happens behind the scenes. You're talking about 2 people in your head all day. Like these people have become part of my DNA. When I wake up in the morning, when I go to sleep, it's these 2. I was gonna marry them. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna have a wife. I'm gonna have a husband. We're gonna get a house together. We just gonna get this right because this feels like a full-blown commitment. Sorry, y'all. Y'all drive me crazy. And I drive them even more crazy. It's, oh wow. When I tell you, one of the co-hosts, she sent the message today. She was like, I can't even edit. Drove me so crazy. Like it is a work. It is a work in process. Always, what we do is the 2 for 1. So 2 against 1 always wins. But
okay.
You can have this person on your side, the other person call. They say, they're doing it. It's okay. 2 for 1.
Okay, so basically, don't listen to this next part, people. I'm a bad influence. Bullying works. So if you have 2 people against 1, that's proof that bullying works because the 2 people won. And it just happens that I don't like humans most of the time, so that's why I don't bully. I'm usually the one getting bullied. Yeah.
See, now I feel bad because it was me and another person voted against me. Oh my God. That's probably why she sent me them angry texts. This time I won. This is how you're going to take away my trophy, my petty trophy. Not only I won, I came on somebody's show and bragged about it. 2 after 1.
Yeah, there we go. That is the winning. Not the winning that Charlie Sheen did a few years ago.
Winning.
That's the proper winning. Hashtag winning. How many more
No,
times?
she's going to hashtag share this to prove that she should have won. You just gave her an antidote.
Okay. Okay. Whatever I said in the last 2 minutes, people around the world, forget about that. I didn't say it. The men in black neuralizer, pretend I have that.
I am just a figment of your imagination.
And last 2 minutes never happened. Nobody lost, nobody's winning, but I still bully people. So, you believe that everything happens for a reason, right?
Yes.
The connection, the flow of the universe. Would you believe that you are at the point now where you can mentor someone, whether it's in terms of podcasting or comedy or the stage arts?
Well, what I try to do is that since our world is so unpredictable, I just wake up and just do it. So if I make a goal list and just do it, it kind of doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? One of them is either going to move forward or drop off. So what I just saw is try not to think so much, because the thing is that our civilization, we can't have funerals right now. What gatherings are at an all-time low because we know why. People are dying, kids can't go to school. So I'm more in the living in the moment. Like I set long-term goals, but I take each one a day at a time. So if whatever falls, I'm okay with. Just sounds like you want them. Lord, if you want them.
Oh, yeah.
I make sure I don't fall into that trap with everybody else's, what's going to be? Whatever is going to be, I'm going to evolve into, and I'll know. And right now, all of them are me. Maybe I don't have to pick, or maybe it'll pick me. But I would have never thought 7 months ago, 8 months ago, I'll be doing. I was working with someone on their podcast, and I remember turning to them like, I would never do this. That was January. We're almost at January, and we're 16 shows, 14 and 16 shows in. I'm on your podcast. I'm meeting people I never thought I'd meet, and my brain is functioning in a different way. So I don't know. I hope it's good.
And that is a perfect shift to the next point that I would like to make. Is with this podcast series, I like to say the reason I came up with the Evolution of Humanity series is because 7 months ago, I was just a guy with an opinion and a Twitter account. And now I'm a guy with an opinion, a Twitter account, and a podcast. So
Twitter account with like 10,000 retweets, though, I think. Like,
oh no.
But that wasn't yours?
No, that wasn't mine. People don't like me. You're probably one of the 10 people left that like me.
They love you.
So thank you for being here. Now, in terms of growth in this year, has anything surprised you?
Oh, well, where I would think that maybe I should have read about the Dark Ages more, and or what happened when colonizers came to America and gave smallpox to Native Americans. But I assumed that when the world might be ending, people would become nicer. No. The joke, when I tell you, so naive. People I thought were like butterflies and cotton candy have been ruthless. So I'm more shocked of how survival of the fittest that everyone's mind turned into being.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time with humans over the last 3 months because that was the last time I wasn't sober. So handling people on a daily basis while being sober, that's a tough one.
Ooh.
And as since you mentioned Twitter, I'm handling people on Twitter every single day. And even that's enough. Even that's enough for me. To the point that I do not ever want to have an account on TikTok. It's enough that I can see other people sharing TikTok videos here and there.
I love TikTok.
What? You love TikTok?
I
Okay.
love TikTok.
Okay. I'm gonna do the one thing I promised myself I'd never do. I will share your link to TikTok. You have a TikTok account, right?
Oh, yes. I'll give it to you so I can get like
Okay.
points and stuff.
Yes.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, I'll add that. I'll add your Instagram account as well. All
Thank you.
556 of those.
I'm gonna share yours.
No, don't worry. It's not about me. This is about you. I will share the links for the Essential News podcast as well. And basically everything that you touch will be in the description of this podcast on platforms for Android and Apple users. And of course, YouTube, because you guys listening to this podcast need to hop over to YouTube and find out how lovely it is. It's way longer than mine, and it's two-tone as well. So
Yes. I did this just for you, and I wore my flight attendant outfit because we're doing an international interview.
oh, okay. Well, that. The small
A
details,
throwback to the 70s.
The small details make the biggest difference once we understand.
Welcome to
thank
Pan
you.
America. You can step this way.
Step
Welcome
this
to
way.
Pan America.
Assume the seat in the correct position. I don't know. What is it? What is the one that flight attendants do? Like face forward?
No. Flight attendants are the cute girls. Like, so basically in the 50s and 60s when planes start getting really popular and everywhere.
Flight attendants are
They
the
would-
cute girls. That is why
they would
wearing
make
that right now, because cute girls. And I'm gonna
Yes.
cringe at that. I'm gonna cringe at that comment that I just made when I edit the podcast. Because okay, I should learn the lesson. I should know not to flirt during a podcast. I'm not gonna.
You're a
did
man.
that
You
for-
don't know how.
We do.
Rawr.
We do. How can you
No.
still tell me I don't know how to flirt? Yeah, realistically. Okay, so the cute flight attendants, like yourself right now, in the 50s and 60s, you were explaining what they were doing, and the flight attendants in the 50s and 60s, that's the inspiration
Yeah.
for your colors right now, right?
Yeah, so basically back then they wore these cute outfits. They were all unique with the little bow tie and everything like that. And when I looked up international, it was like a bunch of flight attendant pictures came up. So I was like, you know what, let me wear that.
Wow, there's a theme that I never thought of. And since this is international, is there something that stuck by you? Is where you're living right now, is there something that you took from a different culture, say in Germany or in Asia, that stuck by you since leaving?
My name is SushiHouse.
Oh, okay. Yes. SushiHouse. That makes sense.
Well, one thing I've noticed, I'm gonna word this correctly, but Lord, my relationship with my parents, I took from other cultures. Like, their parents are their world, whether they're wrong or right. that everything they say is if they are mind right people, is to help you. I'm very big on that. Germans taught me structure, and like I said, money. All German kids knew money. Korean kids kind of taught me style and personality. Asian kids were very outgoing, very adventurous, as I remember as a kid. And even some of my cousins that are, half Asian, even my daughter. But so with both of those cultures, I learned how to be colorful, I would say. Because in Germany, we had the Oktoberfest, then the Kris Kringelmarkt, and the summers would be only 3 hours of darkness. It was like real flashy, and both of them. I would say that kind of got into me.
Perfect. This has been a learning experience from minute 1 to minute now. I don't know how long we've been. Is there anything you feel that we should speak about that we haven't spoken about yet in terms of evolution? Anything? Whether you'd like to speak about airplanes more that became big in the 70s, or whether you just like to speak about how creepy Bonnie was.
Well, I would say, let me think. I would want to tell people to find humor in everything. Don't be sicko at a funeral, like, I love, find the balance of it.
Oh, no, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that guy. There's fun in funeral for a reason.
Well, where that came from, I just seen a reality show the other day, and they were at a funeral. They kept saying they hired comedians for a funeral, and the comedians kept saying the guy in the casket owed them money. It was just bad, but it was funny. So that can't happen. I would say find humor and enjoy the little moments. Find humor in everything, because it might be to the point where there's nothing funny.
Okay. Could be. Would you say that is your philosophy that you live by?
Oh, no, my philosophy is get rich. But
philosophy is get rich, and that's the
get all the money. No, I'm just playing. No, yeah, I would say that would be me in a nutshell. Live in the moment. Be yourself, live in the moment. It's cheesy, but it worked for Andy Warhol, it worked for me.
Yeah. Seize the moment, and in no way is this podcast sponsored by Eminem. And I'm not going to play the song Seize the Moment by Eminem because I'd get copyright. And copyright is never
Okay. I think they get the pictograph of what you were trying to say.
Yes, this has been fun. And
thank you.
Remember the words of Tovia when she says, live in the moment. And remember the words when I say my philosophy, get rich. Find Tovia's social media links down below, the Essential Podcast link down below in the description. And yes, actually, I checked. There's so many people that listen to this podcast, and ironically, not as many people as I would think in South Africa. So, majority, the last time I checked, about 80% of the audience that listen to this podcast is actually in your home country, the USA.
Oh.
So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the USA, I know Russia, there are 1 or 2 folks that listen.
Shout out to Berlin.
Yes.
I think Berlin's in Russia. Yeah.
Shout out to Berlin as well.
Moscow.
Moscow. Papua New Guinea, New
Oh.
Zealand,
Shout to Hawaii.
Hawaii, and shout out to Atlanta.
Woo!
And that's how we're gonna end it. Well,
In Israel.
And Israel, because let's get real. Everything real is in Israel. That was a tongue twister. Tovia, thank you for popping onto the podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. I hope you come on our show. We're booking like in January, February.
Okay.
It will definitely be different.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll be 30 by then. But we can do that. We can do that. I'll be an old man by then.
Okay, I am holding you to it.
Yeah, you can.
Oh gosh, we've been booked. That's the one weird thing.
Yeah,
we got booked.
Yeah, I've been in comedy for about 10 years, and this is the first time I got booked 10 years later after starting comedy. That's cool.
Constantly booked.
I guess that helps to be a part of my evolution. So once again, thank you. And everybody listening to this, check in the description and follow Tovia everywhere. And that's the end of the podcast. So you know how I do. There's no me without you.
Oh, thank you. You have a great one, okay? Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.